Hello and welcome to the Outcast. I'm your host HC, and with me is.
Wolf.
And today, I this has been on the docket for a bit because I've heard about it. It sounded interesting, but sadly, other things came up, other things happened. But here we are. We are tackling this now. Not too late. This has been around for like a month
Yeah, not that long.
ish.
Yeah, it released in batches as well, so it didn't finish releasing until like late mid December.
Okay, but either way, this is something I was kind of interested in when I heard about it. Secret Level, the new anthology series based on a bunch of games, mostly video games, but games in particular. This was for one. And how many times do you get anthology series based on video games? Not a lot. This is the first time.
Yeah.
So already, already interesting.
Hopefully,
Already interesting.
this
Yeah,
did
hopefully.
well enough that we'll get more in the future.
There is a second season being confirmed,
Okay,
so
good, good. Hopefully, they get some potentially more interesting games. There's definitely a few this
we'll talk
season.
about this. We'll talk about this later, but another thing that kind of drew my interest when I started watching this show for the podcast. The show has been created and produced, and one episode is written by Tim Miller. To those who don't know who Tim Miller is, he is the director of the first Deadpool movie and also executive produced the Sonic the Hedgehog movie trilogy.
Hmm,
So he also directed reshoots for the Borderlands movie, which from what I've heard is not good. But hey, his track record otherwise is pretty good when it comes to adaptations.
listen,
So
you can't have a winner every time.
yeah, and also I won't blame him for reshoots that were probably studio mandated. And I haven't seen the Borderlands movie. I haven't played the game, so
Also,
people who are fans, I don't know. Okay, I am not the address for this,
you
but
got to get
anyway.
that bag right.
Mhm, definitely. So with that said, though, a name which was involved with projects that I liked. Also, he executive produced it, basically more probably the best video game movie trilogy out there. I am not biased. This just seems to be the general consensus at this point. So I was interested to see his name there, and I was also interested when I heard the concept. So, what did you think when you heard about the idea for the show?
I thought it was interesting. I was definitely like, all right, this is cool. They have a lot of different things here. It was definitely fun. Just like, all right, what are they covering here? You saw Dungeons and Dragons, you saw Warhammer, Unreal Tournament, Sifu, Pac-Man. Like we had a lot of different like, all right, these are some cool ideas and interesting things. I'm here to, like we had a Mega Man one, right? That we could see from the trailer. Like there's a bunch of stuff here. It's like, all right, this is cool. This is interesting. I'm for this. Let's see what they got going on here. And then there was a few that were like, I don't know how good this will be, like Concord or Crossfire or even New World, right? Like there was a couple on
Yeah.
there, that we were looking at, and it's like, this may or may not be good. We'll see. Don't have a lot
Let's
of hope for it,
say,
but
you know what I was gonna say, that going into this, I would say that out of all the series that are represented here, I am only a fan of one franchise, and the others I either know, but like the others are stuff that I either know, but even I'm not that all that familiar with them. Like I know that they existed, I know they are a thing, but I've only like seen them on a shelf. I've heard word of mouth about them. I haven't experienced them for myself. And the others are stuff that I haven't heard about, and also maybe researching some of the games afterwards are just not my thing. So,
fair.
would you say that you were a fan of any of those franchises going in?
I would say definitely a fan of Dungeons and Dragons. I enjoy that quite a lot, and have a lot of fun with it. I, I wouldn't really say I'm a fan of too many others. Maybe Warhammer. I like a lot about Warhammer, but I'm not super into it. Right? I know a good bit
And that's
about it, but
another thing, because the reason I'm asking you is because was there a concern that you would only get into the stuff that adapts your favorite of the bunch, and the others were just kind of filler?
Oh yeah, that's always a concern, I would say, right? But
Mhm.
at the same time, I would definitely say, a little bit of spoilers, but I think the ones that I'm not a fan of, like I may not go out and play the game, but definitely won me over. I had a lot of fun watching it, that's for sure.
To me, some did, some didn't.
Well, yeah, not all
But
of them were hits, but
but looking at the entire thing, and again, we'll go over each one individually because each one deserves to be talked about in more depth, right? But
mhm.
to me, there were more wins than losers in this. Like I liked most of the episodes.
And
Some I
even
could
for me at least, I would say the losses like weren't so bad that it was
no,
like all right, show's terrible, end,
no,
done,
not at
never
all.
coming back now. So
Mhm.
it definitely gives me hope for another season. Hopefully,
There
they're able to
is.
get other in potentially I might be insulting,
I
but it's
want
not
to talk
meant that
about.
way. More interesting franchises.
I was about to say that we'll talk about what we want from a season two once we're done talking about
Mm-hmm.
this
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
I think some of my stuff that I want to say for season two are kind of responses to stuff that I have to say about this. So, but regardless, I do enjoy that because this is an anthology, then they're also allowed to just completely do something different with each episode, like down to animation styles. Like there are some episodes look like a CG trailer for a big AAA release game, and some look like an episode of Arcane. Some would look like a Pixar movie. Some and I love that visual variety. I think in some episodes they do kind of use the same style a lot. There is like a concrete style to this show in some cases, but I do like the variety because again, because it's an anthology, there's no connection to each episode stand on its own and talks about a different thing. Why not go all out? But and the other thing I have to ask you, how many of those do you think are backdoor pilots to shows or movies that they have planned?
Well, we know the Pac-Man one was apparently a
Yeah,
backdoor pilot because at the Game
we know
Awards they,
now.
showed off the trailer for a game that's coming out quite soon, I believe, called Shadow Labyrinth that basically like continues on from that little short, right?
We'll definitely talk about that,
And
but
this is
yeah,
something I
it's
think is worth talking about a little bit though, is because I saw some people saying like, oh, the Pac-Man one's not as interesting now because it was just basically an ad or a pilot, right? So a question I have for you actually, does that bother you? Would that
I
bother
would
you?
say no. I would say no because because if anything, I think it's an interesting way, and also with not sure if it's completely comparable, but you have stuff like before every new Sonic game now, Sega would have this animated series of a few. They'll have like a few animated shorts which would combine into one big like 11-minute or something prologue to the game that's being released, right? So it's
Mhm.
not like it. So if you give a creative studio and creative people a big budget, and this is how they want to introduce it, I'm not against the idea because again, it works for Sega. Then again, I would say when Sega does it, it's been released for free on their social media, right? Like on YouTube or on their Facebook or something like that. This is a show that you technically need to pay money to see because it's on Amazon Prime. So with that said, I can see how people will be like, "Oh, so I'm essentially paying for a trailer," but I would also say, isn't like every episode here some sort of a trailer to its respective franchises? So why not test the waters for something completely new?
Yeah, I think personally I'm also fine with it. Like it doesn't bother me that much if, like say the Pac-Man one, for example, like, oh, there's a game coming out that was basically an ad. Like, yeah, but
But I
I'm
will say
all right
it
with that.
I'm all right with that too. And again, I'm stating again that we'll talk about each one a bit more in depth in a bit. But you know something, I think it was actually a smart move to do it here because let's say it like this: if they just revealed this radically different take on Pac-Man at the Game Awards, people would probably lose their minds and go after Namco or something, right? Maybe they still would. Maybe they still do. I have no idea. But I think when they do this, they kind of they captivated you enough with this one thing that now you're kind of like, oh, you know. I think context can matter when you do something like this.
Well, it's definitely a weird space, right? Because, like, you know, you can reveal the Pac-Man trailer and not have the secret level episode, and you could get a lot of different reactions from that, right? You know, some people might be upset, like, wait, this isn't Pac-Man. And then you might have some people who are like, okay, this is weird and different. I'm
But to be
here for
honest, what
this.
even is Pac-Man anymore? Have you seen how many times they reinvented the damn game?
I mean, yeah, at this point, like, you know, yeah, Pac-Man is just a name at this point, really. So, and like an icon, you know. So, like, you can kind of
Yeah.
do whatever you want with it.
Mhm. So, so again, we'll talk about this later. But the other thing, though, that we're talking about this, and I'm just thinking that to some degree, and again, we'll get to this later. But as far as I'm aware, if something if something happened in between, correct me. But there, for a long time, they've been talking about a Mega Man movie that's being made, and last I checked, Netflix had the right. Like Netflix is the one making it. But now I'm seeing this, and I'm going, whatever Netflix has cooked up, maybe they have all the right people, maybe they have the best idea ever, but this was a really good contender here. So if you ask me, if they are not using this as their basis for the movie, which might not be possible because of rights issue and all of that stuff, then the movie already kind of loses points because this was a really good adaptation. So I'm kind of like, huh. It's like on the one hand, is this a pilot? Is this a way to sell me the concept before they start throwing money on it, or is it just something that's made for fun? But then I'm also think, but then it's also kind of shooting other projects involving that franchise in the foot. Concord.
Hmm.
Uh, all I'm gonna say is I'm not sure because, and that's if I have one criticism to the show, and again, it's not really a criticism. I guess it's just a notes thing. But okay, it's an anthology series, sure. But when you have something like again Pac-Man, which is teasing a new game and a new take on this franchise, or with Mega Man that we know has a movie in a completely different production company in the works, or other stuff that's around here. So my question starts, and I asked you earlier, how many of those do you think are backdoor pilots to like other TV shows or a movie or the games themselves even? But I feel that despite this being an anthology, there's this feeling that they want to do something a bit bigger, and we are not quite there yet. You understand what I'm saying?
There's definitely, yeah, there's quite a few episodes that feel, I would say, a little bit too short. Like there was more that was wanted to be done but couldn't be done due to budget and time constraints, right? And you know, it being an anthology series and everything. It definitely feels like this season one was the proof of concept. Can this be popular? Are people interested in this? Okay, they are. Now let's take it further, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if we see some repeats next season and you get like a bit more from certain episodes, right?
Yeah.
And then they throw in a couple of new things as well.
So that with that being said, shall we go over all of
Well, I
these
do want
one by
to speak of one thing. You know, you brought up Tim Miller before. Like, this is also done by his own studio, Blur Studio. This is them.
yeah.
So
Well,
these
to be
people,
honest, apparently each one had a different animation studio working on it, but Blur Studio is the studio like overseeing everything.
yeah, they're the
Yeah,
they're the big one. Yeah. So for reference, Blur Studio, as you said, they've worked on all the Sonic the Hedgehog stuff. They've done the Knuckles show, and they also did Love, Death, and Robots, something that more people might know them for. They've done
yeah,
some
that's
other CG work and other things for different games and movies,
they've
stuff here and there.
again they've done the CG for some Sonic games too, so there's that.
Yeah, so they've been around for quite a while. They've been doing a lot of different stuff.
Mhm. And again, I kind of like seeing them develop because again they started essentially as something that's really small, and I think Deadpool really was the thing that launched them forward when they did that, and to see them now do projects that people talk about and talk about positively as well. That's really interesting, and to see something also that's pretty unique. Again, there's no show like this when it comes to video games, right?
Mhm.
So it's just nice to see something new and from like this previously small studio that I think proves itself to the point that Amazon can just basically tell them, you want to do a bunch of video game adaptations, go for it, take it.
Sure, agreed.
So that being said, anything else you want to talk about before we just jump into it?
Go watch Secret Level if you haven't, because
Yeah,
we're gonna
because
spoil it.
yeah, now we're gonna spoil it. So if you haven't seen Secret Level and you're interested, then we are going to talk about this episode by episode because that's the best way to really talk about it. There's no consistent plot or anything, but if you don't want to be spoiled about what they do necessarily, leave now. Go watch the show, come back later. Spoilers in three, two, one. You still here? Okay. So first off, Dungeons and Dragons, the
Yeah,
Queen's Cradle, again, and this show promoted itself as like a video game anthology, and then you get Dungeons and Dragons. Like this is a tabletop game initially. There were probably video game versions, but just
I
something
like
that
it
I
though
found.
because it's not just a video
Oh,
game
I
anthology;
like
it's
it
a
too.
game anthology, right? Because Warhammer as well, which does have video games, but also more of a board game thing too, right? I
Oh,
like that.
okay. Yeah, so I'll just say that besides seeing the movie which came out, was it 2 years ago?
Hmm.
God, it was two
And
years
you've
ago.
seen
What the
Vox
fuck?
Machina now as well, so the first season.
Yeah, but either way, but I haven't really played any Dungeons and Dragons myself, right? I haven't done any campaigns.
You've
I am
not
not in the
done
community.
Baldur's Gate 3, the big one?
Well, some of my friends did, but Baldur's Gate is also an RPG, a turn-based RPG. People who know me know that it's a very hard for me to get into those. I
Fair.
apologize. Not to say at all that it's bad. From what I've heard, it's fantastic.
Hmm.
I just can't get into the genre.
Which is fair.
But I will say that as a plot going on, as a plot, to get us started, this was really good. Like a great animation, and even though we are just gonna thrown into it, all the characters have cool powers, and there's some really great action sequences. And when it's
Listen,
over, I'm like, I want to see more of this. I want to see more.
watching
They
the dwarf monk run up and catch the arrow and toss that shit back was
Yeah,
so good. That was
that's
so
really.
well done.
Mm.
That alone
And
was
also,
worth it. But no, like you said, like the characters, like you are thrown into it pretty quickly, but the characters they come across fairly well, and getting their personalities across. You can get very clearly and very quickly that this is a fantasy world, that there's magic about, and you're dealing with like yeah, you may not fully understand all the Dungeons and Dragons stuff that are going on, and there's a lot of little references that if you're not familiar, you're not going to catch on to, right? But at the same time, I think it does clear enough and well enough to get across what it is and what it's doing, and yeah, you know.
yeah, I agree. And again, just for something that again, it just for let's say that I think it was just a first episode of anything, anthology or not, needs to get you hooked. And I think this was a really
Yeah, I agree. I
good
think
way
this
to
is a
get
good
you
opener.
hooked.
because it just gives
Yeah,
you some good animation. It gives you a very simple, very simplistic story, I would say,
and
but you're
also
kind
because
of thrown into it very quickly.
there's also a very interesting dynamic between the characters. Like, do they trust each other? Do they not trust each other? Should they? Wouldn't they? There's like a lot of moving parts here, but it also feels snappy, quick. Even if you don't really get the time to see where these characters would go as a team, there was something to it. There was something to this dynamic that I want to see what happened after this was over. I want to
Hmm.
see them take on this big evil. I want to see the dragon, manage that poisony thing that the kid gave him. I want to see more.
He didn't manage
I
it.
was
He died.
invested. Well, you know what I
He died, and out came Tiamat.
mean. And again, that's what I mean. Though we have this TM thing. It's like, oh god, this is a badass. This is a badass villainy thing. I want to see them take that on, and then it ends. And but I also felt I like that I'm left to wonder how this is
Hmm.
gonna develop, if it would ever, because isn't that kind of like the point of Dungeons and Dragons, that sometimes the way the game progresses is kind of left for the people who are playing it. So maybe
Hmm.
that way you can fill the different you can fill in the details yourself.
Yeah, yeah. Overall, a
And
very quick but fun one to start off with.
yeah, and again, I we can't really talk about this in too much because I don't remember everything, but like just what scene for the action sequences alone, if you ask me.
Yeah, I would agree. I think this one, story wise, a little bit weaker. Character wise, fine. But animation wise, they definitely it felt like it put a lot of work into making the action sequences a lot of fun to watch and easy to follow and everything. Very enjoyable for viewing experience, I would say, for the eyes.
Yeah. Mhm. That being said, we're moving on to episode 2, Sifu. It takes a life.
This one,
I've
oh,
I've
go ahead.
seen Sifu everywhere. I'm seeing it on the shelves. I hear people talk about it. I hear people say it's good, but it's just I'm never getting around to it. I can't tell you why, but to be honest, this did make me interested after seeing it. Like, it had an interesting plot. And also the animation is just, again, this looks like something right out of Arcane, and
Yes, agreed.
in
Like
the
it is
best way
very
possible, for
similar.
the record. In the best way possible too. Like, I'm not saying this to insult it. I'm saying this is and again, I like this diversity, that at first you saw something that, yeah, kind of looks like a video game. Essentially, this looks like a triple A CG trailer you'd see at E3 for announcing a game, right? Then you get Sifu, which looks like which is a cell shaded thing, and I'm not sure if the game itself looks like this. I think it does. I'm not 100% sure.
A little bit, I think. Not quite as like it's a little bit more. It's hard to explain. I'm not an artist, but yeah, like it's similar vibe, but not quite the same as the episode, right?
Gotcha. Yeah, but then I also enjoy. I think this is the first short in this anthology that has the theme of dying, coming back, and learning from that mistake. Which it seems to be a theme with some of these, most of these, and again, this is based on a video game, so obviously this does happen. If you die in a video game, you get to try again, and you become stronger and better at the game the more times you retry, right?
Hmm.
So I enjoy that, and I love the little visual things. Like, he has this necklace that loses parts of it every time he dies. I like that visual effect. I like that visual. The action was really cool, and I enjoyed the ending. I enjoyed the ending where he talks to the main character's that he's talking to the old lady, and it's like, it kind of implies that she knows it's him, but then it's also left vague that maybe not. I really liked it. It was a fun ride.
Well, speaking of Sifu, right? Like that's a part of its core gameplay loop too, right? It is the you die, you come back, you're a little bit older, and you just keep going until you can't come back anymore, and you have to
Again,
start all the way back from the beginning.
again, this is something people who played it should tell me. I've only seen it around. I've heard good things, but I don't know how the game itself works.
Yeah,
So
quite
if that's how it
very
works,
hard game, but very fun game from what I've seen and the little I have played of it. But yeah, like
okay.
I think this does probably even better at Dungeons and Dragons at giving you a very clear idea of this is what the game is like and this is
Well,
what you can expect from it.
because also Dungeons and Dragons has become such a big thing that a lot of stuff can be classified as that. Sifu is a bit is its own thing, right? There's a plot, there's a destination. It's not Dungeons and Dragons is basically, you know, it's randomized. I
Yeah.
guess is the
Well,
best way
it's
to go about it.
also Dungeons and Dragons is also more like open ended, right? You can do a lot of different
There you
things
go.
with it, so it's hard to get that across as well, I would say. But Sifu, you have a much more clear picture of what it is and what it's like. We'll say that glass bridge scene, that overhang, that fight scene, all throughout that,
Hmm.
so good to watch.
Yeah, that was amazing. And again, from what I know, from the little I know about the game, I think it was done justice. But again, I haven't played it yet, so I would be curious to hear what fans of the game have to say, because if I really hope you liked it. If you're a fan of Sifu and you're listening to this,
Mm. And yeah, like you said, like watching him come back as the old man to talk to the old lady and order the same thing he ordered before. So good.
and
Like such a
and
nice
it,
little
and I also
metaphor
like
with a
that.
short.
And I also like that they left it vague. Does she know? Does she not know? And you have this little visual that, you see him sitting there as an old man, but then like there's a touch of him, and you see the reflection of his younger self in like a puddle on the street.
Mm-hmm.
So good. Again,
Mm-hmm.
artistry, just
Very well
artistry is
done.
amazing. Mhm. And so moving on to episode 3, New World, the
And
once and future king.
and yet Aelstrom lives.
I
I
would
kind of
say.
love this one. I did not think I would
Oh,
enjoy this one as
oh,
much as
I
I
would.
did.
So listen, I had no idea that this game was even a thing. And again, looking it up doesn't sound like my type of game. But this is one of my favorites. For one, Arnold Schwarzenegger,
Mm-hmm. Did not
and
expect that. I
did
know it
not
was
expect
announced
it.
beforehand, but I didn't look into any of the announcements, so I didn't expect like, oh,
Same.
that's him. Fun.
Yeah, and it's all good because again, I didn't even look it up. I just saw it afterwards, and like for a bit, I didn't even recognize it's him. And like, and for Arnold Schwarzenegger, you would expect the thing, but he has some really good comedic timing in his voice. Like this,
Mm-hmm.
I would say this is one of the best performances in his career.
Yeah, I would agree.
Like
I don't know if
this.
I would say the best, but it was definitely a
I
lot
said
of
one of the
fun.
best. I said one because it's such a different thing you would expect him to do, right? Because what other comedies has he done? Jingle All the Way, Batman and Robin. This is the first comedy he did that's actually funny.
True.
And for the record, I know that he has a lot of great one-liners, but the one-liners are from action movies, not comedies. Get me? So yeah. And so for one, Arnold killing it in this. I love him. I love Arnold Schwarzenegger, and even before I knew it was him, there was just this. It's such I just love this idea that this freaking king, washes away on an island where you can't die. Every time you die, you come back, right? Okay, good. And then he just decides, you know what? I'm going to be king of this island, and he keeps challenging the actual king to to all these things. And it's like, okay, you can beat me in a fight, but what about brains? Beats him at chess. What about this? Beats him at that. Beats him at that. It's like it's such a funny idea that this king is essentially a loser because he was handed over everything on a silver pad on a You get what I mean.
Yeah, on a silver
It's
platter. Yeah,
yeah, it's just it's so funny to me, and also like in a way, you have also Scavola. Like God bless him, Scavola is just amazing, and you can we've seen this kind of dynamic before, right? The full of himself leader, and the kind of like the guy that's always there for him and will do everything for him, but and he won't and Alstrom doesn't appreciate him and everything. I again, we've seen this dynamic before, but I think the point that really sells this, or what really sells this one, and really what makes it one of my favorites, is that when Alstrom actually decides to take himself seriously and learn something, he takes one of the crowns that Zima gave him out of pity, and and he makes Cavola a
an
new
arm.
arm out
Yeah,
of it.
it's like such a nice little tidbit right at the end. It's like, oh, he's learned his lesson. It's adorable, and you kind of love it.
Yeah, and also that throughout the entire time he kind of talks to himself in third person, like you mentioned earlier. And yet Alstrom
Elstrom
lives.
lives.
And
It's so
Scavola,
good.
you are a great servant to Alstrom. And when he gives him the arm, he tells him, "You are my friend." It's like it's the little details
Uh-huh.
that also when the waves are kind of washing away the the old footprints to show that he's not the same person anymore. That person is dead.
Yep.
There's the new Alstrom now. It's a really good again. I haven't even heard of the game prior to this, but seeing this, I love this one. This was really good.
Yeah. And also continuing the theme of, coming back after dying and everything, like our first two.
Mhm. Yeah. So again, like I said, there's this theme about dying and trying again, which I kind of like that. This is the theme that ties everything together. Essentially, that way that trying again and again makes you better at something. And isn't it like, in a way, now that I'm thinking about it, isn't kind of like Alstrom just having everything from birth is kind of like cheating, while Zima is the guy who actually beat the game, did all the side quests, actually
Mm-hmm.
earned the title of king?
Yep.
Hmm, makes you think.
No,
So,
like
anything else?
definitely, I think a lot of people, myself included, expected to come into the new world when it's like, yeah, Amazon's going to pump a lot of money in this because it's their game, it's their show, but it
Yeah,
probably won't be very good. And I think a lot of people, again, myself included, came away with like, actually, yeah, they probably pumped a bit more money into this one because it is their game and their show, but this was a lot of fun. Unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to go out and play New World, Amazon, sorry, but
yeah.
you actually, you managed to get me more interested in the New World than the game ever did.
Yeah, definitely. I think this will be my the DVD quote for for the Outcast on where if it ever gets like a Blu-ray or DVD, it's like it made me interested in the game more than the game did. That will be the box tagline. Mm. So anything else on this one, or are we
Ah,
moving on?
this one was just a lot of fun, and yet
Hmm.
Aelstrom lives.
Yep. Elstrom will, and yet Elstrom will probably continue living in our hearts after this ending. This was a really good one.
Yeah,
So, moving on to Unreal Tournament. Is it Zanjan? I
Zan,
don't.
Zan, I
Zan.
think. Xander's on. Take your pick. I don't know. Yeah, who cares?
So anyway, this is the first one that I didn't really care for. Again, Unreal Tournament. I know this is a shooter. I know it was really big in the 2000s. I'm not sure. Is this franchise still around? I'm sorry if I'm out of date.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't think like it's not doing big games as much anymore, but it's still around. People still play Unreal Tournament even now, right? Like there was uh yeah, there was supposed to be like a new game that was coming out, and they released like I think a pre-alpha. This was like 10 years ago at this point, so really yeah, but it was canceled in 2017. So it was canceled
Mhm.
more recently, but they released like a pre-alpha thing, and it was in I guess development hell for a long time, and then Epic canceled it.
Gotcha.
So not really had a
Well,
new game in a long time, but people still play the older games a lot, from what I understand, just because they're still fun to play and people have a lot of fun with them.
and again, I don't doubt that. But again, shooters not necessarily there all the time for that. But
Oh, fair, fair.
so again, I don't have any experience. But again, if this gave you what you wanted, then great. I just think it was essentially a bunch of gladiator battles, and again, it
Yeah,
looks great. The animation looks awesome, and this is also the first one out of these that's actually animated by Blow Studios themselves, not another outsource.
yeah.
So that's
Should
interesting.
mention uh the first three were Unit Image for two of them and Digic Pictures for Sifu.
Yeah, Unit did Dungeons and Dragons, and New World and Digit did Sifu. We'll probably mention those. We should probably mention the studios as we go along
Yeah.
because they deserve it. So,
As just a bit of a thing for folks, Digic Pictures has just done a lot of different like video game CGI trailers and other things for video games. I don't, looking quickly, think they've done a lot of like VFX stuff for commercials. They're basically like that kind of studio. They've not done anything for
but if anything,
shows or
I
movies
would
or
say that
anything.
the Sifu one, going back to that, that really shows their talents and that they can do something amazing.
Yeah, I think
So,
that definitely shows. Like, I should also mention, like we mentioned, like very reminiscent of League of Legends, right, and Arcane, right. They've definitely worked with League of Legends, so they probably have some experience with Arcane. But yeah,
maybe
they've
one of the spin-offs, maybe one of the future spin-offs that they're planning
yeah,
for it. You may
Digic
never know.
Pictures done a lot of stuff with different video game CGI stuff. Unit
Mhm.
Image, let me look it up right quick because
Because they don't have a Wikipedia page, sadly, so I can't really look into them quickly. Yeah. But while you do this, I'll just say about the Unreal Tournament one. I think again, I was kind of hooked on the start, but then when it just kept being more fighting, more fighting, more fight, and again, beautiful animation. Not to dig on the animators or something, but at some point I just kind of started getting a bit bored with it. When I thought it started picking up was when the robot actually kind of starts to rebel at the end, and the audience starts cheering with it. That okay, now we're going something. Now this is gonna they're gonna turn against this game master lady that's pulling all the strings, and then it
right.
ended, and it's like it's like the ending had something there. It again. I think this is the first one that cut off a bit too short for me.
Yeah, I think for me, it kind of it was fun enough. I don't think it fully overstayed its welcome, but yeah, it definitely ended a bit too soon. And I think they could have maybe cut some of the beginning bit and dropped us a little bit more in the middle, if you will, and we could have got more of the end. But I think it does well enough at getting what the game is supposed to be across to you, and it's fun enough to watch. But if you're going into this looking for any kind of character or story, even for something small, especially considering what you've gotten from the other three so far, this one's definitely weaker on that front. The weakest on that front so
And
far.
and I think maybe that's kind of the issue that because it's placed after the first three, which did give you a lot, even if you didn't like, even if you're not familiar with the specific game in question, this one felt the most like I'm sure that fans would get a kick out of this. It's just as a non-fan, I think it is peaked at the moment it ended. Like this is where the plot actually started, and then. Eh.
Yeah, which that's fine. Again, right?
Again,
You've got
and again,
three
there's not.
good to banger episodes in a row, and then one. This is fine, but I'm kind of meh on it.
Yeah,
That's
and
not a
again,
bad
I'm
track
sure.
record so far.
No, not at all. And again, I would say again, there's also a lot to appreciate there. Like again, the animation is amazing. The fight scenes themselves are great. I'm sure that fans of the game could also probably name you weapons and stuff that happens. It's probably like the game. I just can't tell you because again, I haven't played it.
Mm, fair enough.
Now, moving on, this is something that I was kind of curious about.
So
Warhammer 40K.
real quick, we'll say
And
for unit image, they've like Digit Pictures. Let me check, make sure I said that right. Yeah, like Digit Pictures, they've done a bunch of different video game CGI trailer stuff. You
you
might
can kind of tell.
Horizon Forbidden West. That was them, the trailer for that. They did stuff on Love, Death, and Robots. They've worked with Blur before. They did like the trailer for Elden Ring.
Awesome.
Um, another big one, I think. You know, they did the Baldur's Gate 3 intro. That might be a big one that people would know. And they've also done a lot of work with League of Legends and their stuff and doing trailers for them. More recent one, they did some of the stuff for Marvel Rivals and their trailer things. So and some of their animation in that game. So yeah, they've done a lot of different stuff.
Cool. With that said, Warhammer 40K, and they shall know no fear. This one is also done by Blur Studios. Um, I've been hearing about Warhammer a lot. Like I've seen friends play it. I have
Well, they did have that
another friend.
recent new
I
big
haven't.
game release that a lot of people
Mhm.
loved, and I've heard is
I know.
quite fun.
I also have a friend who is like really big into it. I know Henry Cavill is apparently making a movie out of it.
I think he's doing a show. It might be a movie. I don't
Oh,
know.
sure. Henry Cavill is involved in a project.
Yeah,
That's
he's
what I know.
definitely involved in a Warhammer project that's going to be on Amazon. That's all we know at the moment. And Henry Cavill
So
loves Warhammer as much as he loves
so there's a
Witcher.
good
So
chance. So there's a good chance that this might actually be that backdoor pilot we're talking about because
could
this is on
be.
Amazon. So, but again, I haven't played it. I'm sure it's great. All those who enjoy it, please continue to enjoy it. I just there were a lot of moments in here that I thought this looks cool. This looks interesting. I wasn't bored by this, but when it ended, I also felt I have no idea what I just saw. like,
Yeah,
like
that's. I'm not surprised
I
by that. This one definitely is like from the anthology so far, this is probably like the weakest in giving you an understanding of what the fuck Warhammer is. Because if you watch this and you walked away asking what the fuck is Warhammer, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. This is not going to give you a really good explanation other than a lot of big dudes killing things basically and being badasses.
Yeah, and again, I enjoyed seeing it for that, but again, when it ended, they're like, they're about to face, another army at the end, and then it's like, and then it ended, and I'm like, cool. I think I liked it, but I also don't really know what I experienced just now.
Yeah, see, you wouldn't know that one of the big Warhammer names, right, is
Mhm.
in this little thing. Titus, like he's big in the Warhammer universe and lore and everything.
All I can tell you that the name Titus reminds me of is that there was a video game company with a fox as a mascot named Titus.
Basically,
so,
Titus is that kid you see at the beginning who looks like
mhm. Yeah, I
the
figured.
old fella is like, man, I don't know whether I should fear him or whether I shouldn't have recruited him or not because he could be something amazing or he could be the worst thing to ever happen upon humanity, yada yada. Right, and
Yeah.
he's also the one who's fighting and still standing at the very end and everything, right? Because
Hmm.
Titus is a badass, and that's all you need to know, basically,
Yeah.
in the Warhammer verse. But
Fair enough.
yeah, like that's not something you would know, basically, from watching this, and you wouldn't even know, like, okay, what the fuck is that demonic looking thing that they're fighting at the end? That shit looks creepy as fuck,
Mm.
but it looks amazing as well animated.
Yeah. So
You
again,
also have no idea why they're carrying around a dude in a box.
yep.
I bet
Again, like I
I would
said,
have loved to have heard your reaction to. Wait, there's a guy in there?
yeah, no, if anything, this is gonna me just being a little shit and making fun of stuff that I don't understand. But to me, this was you could have told me this was the same box from Five Nights at Freddy's 4, the one that's locked and you don't know what's inside there, and then and then they just like perhaps some stuff should be kept locked away. You could have told me this is the same box, and I would have believed you, because in both cases I have no idea what's going on.
So yeah, from a getting the idea of Warhammer across to you, this one's not great, but from a that animation looked amazing. I loved watching this. Hell yeah, let's go. It's great.
Fair enough. Fair
Because
enough.
it is just fun watching the Space Marines kind of walk through and just wreck shit, basically.
Yeah, again, the animation kind of made it like that I was enjoying what I was seeing. I didn't understand it, but I was into it.
I'll say I think Warhammer fans were probably very pleased by this because you see like the Space Marines, right? Like these big hulking guys wearing this big armor and everything. I love the fact personally that it doesn't show them being slow. They're actually very fast. They're very mobile and they're very, agile and everything, which is what they're supposed to be because these are basically like, genetically engineered super soldiers, essentially, right? But yet they're still walking tanks essentially on their own, and that's why you see they just send in four of them and they just annihilate, these like raiders, I guess you would call them. I don't, these chaos people, right? Just absolutely annihilates them. And you just see just how absolutely terrifying the Space Marines can be with just these four, basically, right?
So,
I'm sure
anything else
Warhammer
to
fans
say?
had a lot of fun watching this one.
And again, by all means, continue to have fun with it. Me being confused doesn't mean that I don't get that. I'm also not necessarily the target audience for
Yeah,
this.
I definitely think I would like to see another Warhammer episode from Secret Level, as a bit of a spoiler for future stuff. See a bit more, learn a bit more about it, see what else they can do with it. But at the same time, if this is as you said, like essentially a trailer for, or an ad for, or just a look at to what's to come with Henry Cavill's show, hell yeah, let's go, man. Let's do this
Mhm.
shit. This will be great. If Henry Cavill show is live action, but they can still make it feel like this did, I think
Yeah.
Henry Cavill's Warhammer show would be
I'm not
great.
sure do we know anything about that show besides Henry
I
Cavill
don't
is
think we
involved?
know anything other than Henry Cavill is involved and it's on Amazon.
So maybe they could connect it. You may never know. So moving on to episode 6, Pac-Man Circle. So we already kind of talked about. By the way, this one is done by Illusorium. I'm sorry if I
Illusorium from
mispronounced that.
Spain.
Yes, I am. I'm really sorry if I mispronounced it, but so because they did a great job with this. I think again, this is another one that it's not your traditional it's not your traditional, how should I say, you know game trailer CG thing. It's also not really like the arcane style, I guess, that Sifu had, but it looked pretty unique. Like it looked interesting in terms of like the visual flair and the coloring and the character designs. I really liked it. And also, that's indeed a take on Pac-Man, I can tell you that much.
I watched this and I was so confused, but I was so like, okay, I'm kind of here for this. I don't know where this is going, but I kind of want to see more of it. I don't think I'm gonna go out of my way to play the new game for this, but
I'm interested, but
I'm
I
definitely
also like
interested.
Metroidvania. Yeah, so it definitely got me interested, but also I think what I really like about this is because I joked earlier that what even is Pac-Man now, right? Because they reinvented this thing,
Based
this
off this,
franchise.
who knows? Pac-Man's fucking freaky as fuck. That's what this
It- it-
is.
but what I mean though is that what's the original Pac-Man? You are some yellow dude in a maze trying to eat all the pellets and being chased around by ghosts, right? And but then you have like you have that, what was it, Pac-Man 2, the New Adventures or something, that basically it was half a platformer, half you needed to guide Pac-Man to do chores and stuff with this, and his mood decides what he thinks and how he controls. It was weird. And then there's Pac-Man World, which is a platforming series. And then what even was Pac-Man and the Ghostly Adventures? I know there was a cartoon. I know there was a game. I'm not sure what the game is though. So basically, Pac-Man has been all around. Okay, it's not a concept that you can necessarily stick to one thing. And something, if you want to make something creepy and scary, at least they did something interesting and cool with it outside of just giving him an axe, like Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, like this definitely is a thing of like just pack where you just have this, kind of feminine, but very like AI voice from Pac-Man, like you must consume and get stronger. And then you get to the end, like just constantly telling, our main character here, who's just, kind of
That's
like,
another thing, though. It's obviously, it says Pac-Man there on the title. You can't miss it.
yeah,
But that yellow thing is just called Puck,
yeah,
according to the credits, and which I think was a reference that initially he was supposed to be called Puckman, but they changed it because they didn't want people to confuse it with Fuckman.
yeah.
So in a way, I think what we're trying to imply that Pac-Man is not really an entity in this thing. It's Puck and the main character combined is what creates Pac-Man.
Yeah. It's also right, like again, you get to that ending and just see like, okay, he can't do it, so Puck starts eating him, and he realizes, oh fuck, this entire maze and everything is designed to keep Puck locked away.
Yeah,
And
that
then
was
so he
really
rips
cool.
Puck out of him, he dies, and then Puck or Pac-Man goes back and just awakens another quote unquote chosen. And it's like, this is weird. What is this? I kind
Like
of
it's
like this, but this is weird and creepy as fuck.
that's the thing. It's weird. It's not necessarily, but again, there is also like there are elements of Pac-Man that are reworked a bit to make this, like the entire eat or be eaten. What is Pac-Man about? Eating or being eaten by the ghosts, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool. The chosen one is essentially trying to escape a maze. What is Pac-Man? He's trapped in a maze. That's again, it's like you're wondering how in the fuck is this Pac-Man, but
It is
it
Pac-Man like there, right?
y- and like I said, there's a good chance that Pac-Man as we know him isn't even an actual entity. He's a fusion of Pac and whoever the chosen is. And then again, like the creature at the end, they also mentions like you can't eat ghosts, and even if you do, only their eyes are going to survive that. And it's like, yeah, that's how the game works. That literally happens in the game. It's really interesting. And again, I'm not sure how the game that this is promoting is gonna turn out, but not only am I interested in the concept, but even if this wasn't promoting anything, I think it's a really interesting piece of media. Is it loyal to the Pac-Man lore, quote unquote? No, obviously. And don't show this to your kids for God's sake. But otherwise,
Listen, that Pac-Man shit close to the end, that shit would give me nightmares.
oh yeah, definitely.
That shit is nope, don't want. I'm good.
Yeah. Imagine if this is a kid's first introduction to Pac-Man. They don't know anything. uh,
Hello, new fear.
yeah.
Hello,
To
childhood
be
trauma.
well, to be honest, have you played Pac-Man World, the first one?
I have not no.
Well, but all you need to know is that at the end of that, basically, there's this robotic Pac-Man called Talkman who kidnaps all of Pac-Man's friends and family on Pac-Man's birthday, and Pac-Man has to go save them. And then when you beat him at the final boss, he goes, "I'm sorry, Pac-Man. I just wanted attention. I wanted to be loved." And then Pac-Man just gets a power pellet and eats the fucker.
I'm not surprised. Yeah, Pac-Man's Pac-Man's evil,
so
man. That's what I'm
yeah,
coming away from this
so you know something.
learning.
Looking back, this isn't really all that far fetched from the Pac-Man that we were introduced to in the 90s.
Pac-Man is just
But
straight evil, and we should not even remotely, think of him as a
and
hero. He's not a
and for the
hero.
record, I know that there's an alternative ending in the remake if you get 100%. I'm aware, but this one is fun. The bad ending, quote unquote, is funnier, and it also kind of gives you context for this. So might as well. But anyway, yeah, ending a promotional thing for the game or not, I think this is a really good one. It's not what you would expect out of Pac-Man, but it was a really interesting dark take on it. And again, and one that they actually put thought into. It's not just give it an axe, give it a knife, and have it kill people. Dopey dope.
Yeah, it definitely. There's a story here that you can follow. We don't know exactly how close it'll be to this new game, but from what we've seen from the trailer for that game, seems that it'll be fairly similar. This gives the idea across pretty well, and you can still
That's
tell this
actually
this is
something.
Pac-Man. They even have
Mhm,
like a thing, right, where you see Pac and the Chosen, quote unquote, hiding
mhm.
from what we assume is a ghost in the show too, and everything, right? So
Yeah.
there's
Which
definitely a
does bring up a question though. Do you think that do you think like that this is essentially an adaptation of the game that's about to come out, or if the or if the chosen that you are going to play in the game is the one that's born at the end of this episode, like if the
could be.
game actually
This could be like
continues the
the
show.
pilot for it, and then the game continues on that from there.
I think it's probably one of those things that's gonna be that it's open for interpretation.
Hmm.
So we shall see.
But yeah, this one, I don't know if it's one of my favorites, but it definitely had me going, huh, a lot, and I'm definitely interested in more of it. Like it's probably the one that's gotten me the most to be like, probably not gonna play the game, but I would definitely watch a video series on the game just to kind of find out the story and learn
Mhm.
about it because it interested me enough.
Yeah. So next one we have
Uh,
Crossfire.
really
Good
quick,
con. Yeah.
Illusorium Images, Illusorium Studios, same thing, just done some work on different video game stuff and different ad stuff. Some things you might know from Watch Dogs Legion. They did the CG trailers and stuff for that, and they've done some League of Legends trailers, like the Zeri Champion trailer.
So
Uh,
what you're saying is that this is now that Arcane is canceled, all the League of Legends animation just came here to do this.
Pretty much.
Well, anyway, so Crossfire, good conflict. This one is done by Platige Image. I hope I pronounced that right. I'm sorry if I didn't. Well, look what the studio has done. I would say I actually don't remember what this one is about. This is I completely this is one that again it looks nice, but I
It
don't
looks
really
really
remember
good,
anything.
but definitely it's basically just military stuff. Woo.
Yeah. And again, looks good. There's a and again, voice acting is also great. But the more I'm thinking about it, it's like, yeah, okay, I've seen stuff like this before, right? Which again, when this is an anthology, I get it. There's going to be like the one that you kind of saw in other stuff previously, but this one didn't really stand out in my eyes.
Uh, Correct me if I'm wrong. The dude carrying the briefcase, is that not the guy from Stranger Things, or am I wrong on that and that's someone else?
Like in terms of casting,
Yeah, the sheriff guy, what's his name?
the sheriff, like there's crossfits again. Mhm. Um.
The one who played Jim Hopper, the actor who plays him. I don't think it is. No, looking at it.
I don't see him
David
there. His
Harbour. Yeah,
name,
he's not listed. I don't think it is him.
yeah, no,
Just
he's not
looks
listed.
similar to him, I think.
Mhm.
That's who I
I
thought
guess
it
it
was,
just
but no, it's not him. But yeah, this one wasn't as great. Didn't enjoy it as much. Like it's fine, looks great, but I have. If you told me what Crossfire, if you asked me, hey, from this, what do you think Crossfire is? Military shooter? Question mark.
Yeah.
I really don't know anything at all, and this doesn't help.
Mm. And again, no doubt in my mind that the game, that the whatever game this is based on, I'm sure it's good. I'm sure, and also I'm sure it's great. I'm sure it's fun, and if you like it, I hope that you get a kick out of this. I don't see it, sadly.
It's basically so it's kind of like Counter Strike from what I'm seeing. Looking it up real quick,
Okay.
but it's
Yeah.
I don't think it's a Western thing. I think it's more of a East. It's only like an Eastern thing. Like it's only been in China, Japan, in that area, right? I know that's
Gotcha.
not like in Korea, like over in that kind of general area, and it's never released outside of there, from what I've seen. So that may be why I've never heard of it.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. So, but anything else to really say about it?
Other than speaking to platage images, um, they've done a bunch of different stuff. Looks like they've done a lot of original stuff from animated films within Poland, since that's where
Oh,
they're based at and everything.
yeah.
Um, they did do stuff for The Witcher. They did like the games and everything, and Cyberpunk 2077. So CD Projekt Red has used them quite a bit. They've done all of the
Oh,
like for the original, they did the intro and outro. They did The Witcher: Rise of the White Wolf. They did work on Witcher 2: Assassins of Kings. They did work on, like I said, Cyberpunk 2077 and Witcher 3: Wild Hunt.
that's really cool. I'm glad that again. It's nice to hear that all these studios have jobs. So
They
that being
apparently
said,
have done work for Listerine, the mouthwash, and
are you sure?
Kellogg's, the
I'm
food brand.
well. You need to do something for the paycheck, I suppose.
Something a
So
lot better. They've worked for Lego. They've done a lot of stuff for Lego apparently. So
okay.
or at least up until 2013, they've not done anything for Lego since. But cool. Lego's cool. We
Anyways,
like Lego. Lego's always nice.
yeah.
I'm
So
enthused
moving
about it.
on to the next one. I'm sorry that we didn't have much to say about this one, but it just kind
It
of
just wasn't as interesting, I feel.
yeah.
Again, it was
Um,
just very simple. Like it's you know that okay, one group is protecting a dude with a briefcase, the other group is trying to get the dude with the briefcase or get the briefcase back, and that's kind of it, basically.
Yeah, so moving on to episode 8, Armored Core Asset Management. This one is done again by Dijak Pictures, the same people who did the Sifu one. And just again goes to show that there's a lot of range within the same studio, right? Because
Mm,
this looks nothing like the Sifu one.
yeah,
And
vastly different.
yeah, so the other thing I have to say about this one, Keanu, you are a national treasure, and I heard Shadow the Hedgehog say fuck.
Of course. But yeah, we get
Okay.
Keanu in this one, and he does great. This one's a lot of fun.
And also, of course, because he's in here, of course the character also looks like him because might as well. But again, don't know the game whatsoever. And I would say that maybe knowing the game would have made me a bit more interested in this one, but I like this one. This one was fun.
Armored Core, just big mechs fighting each other. Go have fun.
Okay. But,
Very big mechs.
oh,
They can move very fast. You can get beam swords. You have guns. You go fight each other, and you have fun doing that. And that's basically all you need to know about Armored Core.
mhm. And so I really like this one because again, great animation, the fight scenes are
Mm,
spectacular, and I also like that throughout this you get the pilot and the AI just kind of arguing with each other and bantering throughout the thing,
hmm
which again make what they're talking about. Sometimes I don't really know, like what is the end all be all goal. I have no idea, but it was really fun. I enjoyed it.
You also, again, you have this thing of like, okay, you kind of get this sense of like, all right, Keanu's character isn't necessarily human, and there's like some, he definitely has like some mental issues, definitely might be insane or some other stuff going on, but still a really good pilot apparently and exceptionally skilled, right?
Hmm.
So a lot of
Yeah,
interesting
and
stuff, a lot of fun stuff with this one. Like there's definitely some meat to it, right? That you can get into and kind of dive into with it.
yeah. Again, I probably don't have much to say because I don't know the game, but for all it's worth, I had a lot of fun with this one.
Yeah, I unfortunately
This
don't know enough about Armored Core to say, hey, is there any like interesting references or fun stuff you can point out? I unfortunately don't know stuff. Uh, from hearing a few Armored Core fans, they loved this. It was a lot of fun for them. So hey,
awesome then.
nice.
And
I'm
again,
glad you enjoyed.
for what it's worth, I had a lot of fun watching it. So take it for what it's worth. So anything you to say about it besides Arnold Schwarzenegger's son is playing a kid in this
Yep.
because I guess they were in the recording studio together, maybe.
And we got dad, son. He took son along for the trip, I suppose, or something. I don't know. I mean, he
And
did
yet,
fine.
and yet, Alstrom believes in in giving kids jobs, I suppose.
I will
So
say we've started to stray somewhat from the uh die and come back vibe we kind of started
uh,
off with.
but- though, to be honest, I think the idea here that the pilot is kind of when the pilot is just starts when they say him, there are a lot of people, and he says no one is like me. I think there's an implication that he's not the first one that has gone through this. This
I mean,
is
I,
not the
I think
first
it
time something happens.
true. I,
So,
I think it would have been interesting though if they
but
could have kept the second chance theme going throughout every single episode. Because they've
true.
done pretty well. Like Dungeons and Dragons had the second chance theme, even if no one died and came back to life, you still had that theme of like second chances and getting to come back and try it again, right, and do things differently, or moving forward, right. Sifu had
Yes.
that definitely. New World definitely have that. Unreal Tournament also to a degree had that technically. Warhammer, I would say definitely had that theme of second chances somewhat,
Yeah, and Pac-Man
and
obviously
yeah,
did.
Pac-Man definitely did. Crossfire did not, and then Armored Core hasn't, right?
Well, so moving on to episode 9, The Other Walls, the company we keep. This one is done by Goodbye Kansas Studios from Sweden, and that's an awesome name for a studio, I have to say. Um, so again, I don't know what The Other Worlds is. I haven't played it, haven't really heard of it. One of my favorite episodes in this show. This one was really good.
Or Amos, man.
Yeah, no. So this is a tragedy story, and those can really hit me. And those can really hit me if they're done well. And what I found interesting is that I knew there was going to be some sort of a twist with Felicity.
Mm.
Like either she wasn't going to walk there anymore, or either she wasn't going to recognize him. I knew something was gonna happen, but then the twist they ended up going with is that she does recognize him. She's still walking there, but now she ends up being like the worst thing imaginable. She ends up being worse than the bad things that were already going
Yeah,
on, right?
like he had to go through hell doing testing work, but he was good at it. She's like, no, no, we're not going to do testing work anymore. We'll just have the regular people be our testers for us. Like the
Yeah.
worst bits of and that's kind of the Outer Worlds, I will say. Like Outer Worlds is basically a game that's set in space. Think like you're not really familiar with it, but it's similar to Fallout, but set in space. So
Okay, I got the idea.
same kind of tongue-in-cheek humor, and the idea of Outer Worlds is it's basically hyper capitalism, hyper capitalism,
Yeah,
right?
I believe it based on this.
And this
But
show very much continues on with that theme and that feel very well.
so I just love that I expected that outbreak. I expected something to happen, but they still managed to give a test. They gave it a spin that I wasn't expecting, and I like it when the stuff can catch me unprepared. And then the other thing I like is that Amos is trying to. He has proof. He has proof against Felicity, and he's about to use it. And then Felicity kind of just has this talk with him where it feels like, you know, I'm not feeling all that good
Oh,
about what
yeah.
I'm about it.
Mm-hmm.
And when she asks him, "I'm a bad person," he tells her no. And this is important because throughout the entire episode, they establish that he can't lie. He's absolutely incapable of lying. And it's very nicely hinted at that at this point he is lying to her because and maybe even lies to himself because to him she can't be that evil even
Yeah, I
though
don't think
she is.
it's that he's lying to her. I think he's definitely lying to himself because you can clearly see immediately after she doesn't really care. That was all just she did that to make him feel bad so she could get the evidence from him. So that
Yeah.
way he couldn't
And
report her.
And then also he does say a lot of times that he likes walking, that he wants to his life to have purpose. And when we leave him at the end, there was no point to any of the testing that he's done. It's like the most tragic fucking thing. It's like this
Yeah.
is one of the ones that this is really well written, really well executed. Some facial expressions during talking is a bit uncanny, but it's not really the fault of the animation studio. Maybe it's just the character designs. But like, I really like this one. This is one of the ones that actually hit me when it ended. This was really good.
Yes, this one was really good. This is probably like one of the strongest from season one from this anthology. Also, will say, also kept up with the theme of second chances, but inverted it somewhat and saying, hey, some people either don't deserve second chances, or if you give them a second chance, they'll still do the exact same thing they were already doing, which was being an
Yeah,
awful person, which is
and
great.
also this
I
one
love
is
that.
actually, yeah, I also love that it's really visual on Amos because this poor guy walks in fully excited to be a test subject, and he's all human, and then the moment the tests go on, what is even human of him by the end? Just his head, essentially.
Yeah, like he is practically more robot at the end of it than human, but a ton
So
of fun. Very, very good.
I'm not sure if fun is the way I would describe it because
I
it
mean,
is a tragedy,
yeah, it's not
but
fun, but like it's
but it's
enjoyable.
engaging.
Yeah, it's
Like, it's
engaging. Engaging is a
engaging.
lot better
It
word.
gets you. It gets you where it needs to, and
Hmm.
it's just really well done.
Yes.
Super well done, even.
Like this one is probably I would say definitely one of the best ones that utilizes its time the best in terms of
Yeah.
like it has this much time, it's going to get this kind of story across to you, and it does it exceptionally well. I
Mhm.
will say, like, do you know a lot about what the Outer Worlds as a game will be like? No, but you kind of
No.
know what you're walking into in terms of what you're going to get from a feeling from
But
Outer Worlds, right?
then again, I would also say, even if I don't know what the game is necessarily out of this, I had a lot of fun with it, so I'll
Fair,
take that.
fair, fair. No, that's absolutely fair.
So
I
moving
will say,
on.
Goodbye Kansas Studios. Excuse me, very quickly. They've done quite a bit of different work. For a few picks, they've done the cinematic stuff for Helldivers 2. They worked on
Mhm.
the Alan Wake 2 teaser trailer. They did some work on the Halo show. That might make some
Oh,
people mad. But way better, they did some work on the One Piece show. That's going to make a
like the
lot of
live
people
action
happy.
one?
Yeah, the live action
That's
one.
that's really cool.
And then they did some work for Cyberpunk 2077 as well. They did some work on Shogun, the TV series, and it's a bunch of different others as well. They have a pretty big list of stuff. Like they also did work on God of War. Didn't know that.
Oh, cool, cool.
So yeah,
Well, so moving on to Mega Man Start, also done by
Illusorium.
Illustrium. Yeah, Illustrium. Maybe it's because this is the one franchise that I know really well and I'm a fan of
Yeah,
outside
what
of
did you
this,
think of
but
this one? I was kind of upset with this one a little bit. I will admit,
upset how? Let's ask.
it
Let's
ended
ask how.
too soon. I wanted to
You
see a little bit
you
more.
you see, this is the one problem I have with it. It was over too soon because again, maybe it's because I'm a Mega Man fan outside of this, but this was my favorite one. This was amazing.
It was very well done. Like, this is
It
also a
was
really good
so
one. But man, I was
it was
so
so
upset by the end. I was like,
fucking
I want to see him do something, man. He's got the blue suit on. Let's go. Give me like an
you know
extra
something?
five
I'm telling you,
minutes.
no, listen. I'm telling you right now. If
Just 2 minutes.
all the ending bit, like from the moment that he starts putting on the suit and they are playing Okusaman
Mm,
or Wily One for Mega Man 2, and then when he gets the helmet and he teleports and you see him on top of the roof, like the beginning of Mega Man 2, and you also hear the theme for it, and he puts on the helmet. I guarantee you, if this was a part of a movie that's in theaters, people would have lost their fucking minds. You would
mm.
hear clapping in this theater. I'm willing to bet money on this. This was so fucking awesome. But alas, this is what we got. So I still love this. This
Still
was
really
so
good. Like,
well.
it's so good, and that's kind of why I'm upset with it that I didn't get more of
Yeah.
it. Like, just an extra 2 or 5 minutes at most. Just give me
Or
a
at
little
least
bit more.
if we saw him at least at the end do some Mega Man thing, like if he
Yeah.
would have like jumped and shoot and slide
Even like
a
running through the
bit.
city a little bit, man. Something. Give me something.
Yeah.
Just
Mhm.
something.
But
After he gets the
but
suit on,
it,
give me something. Like, I was so
it
upset. I was like, what? It ended there? Why?
yeah,
I've been
yeah.
robbed.
Again, the only problem I have with this is that it's too short because otherwise this is just perfect. I'm not sure if again, maybe it's because I'm a Mega Man fan or something, but this was literally perfect. This was
Mm,
like okay, let's go over this. So for one, things I liked, I really like that they're keeping Rock. I'm gonna call him Rock because he's not Mega Man yet. So
mm,
I like how they keep Rock a kid, like
mm.
he's supposed to be. Like I think some versions would try to push him more into the teenager because teenagers cool, yeah. But so I like that this one remembers that he's a kid.
No,
He's
he's supposed
not
to be
a
young. Yeah.
teen. Yeah, and also Dr. Light. I am not sure. I'm not really familiar with the actor who voiced him, but he did really good. He really fit. I also like that to some extent we don't even see Dr. Wily anywhere, but his presence as the villain is felt.
Yeah. Very
He like
quickly, very immediately.
mhm. And the other thing is that already there are problems because he sent some because there are some robot masters attacking the city and you see Rock that he's trying to tell Dr. Light, you created me for help, so let me help. And he tells him, no, I created you to help me in the lab. You are built for something, you're not built for this. So he's about to launch in Bombman, which again I kind of love that in this the robot masters are like towering over Mega Man.
Hmm.
They are not the same size because it makes him look weaker on at a glance, but when he beats them, it makes it so much more impressive. I love that.
Not only that, I
Uh,
also enjoy, right, too, that you can see that Dr. Light really cares about, Rock or Mega Man, right? Like he's supposed
mhm.
to. Because, like,
Yes.
it's not that he doesn't want to just send, it's not he was just made to help him. He actually doesn't really care about him. He doesn't want to lose him like he's lost the other robots. He doesn't want to take that risk and that chance
hmm Which does bring
until
up the
he
question,
proves
where the hell
himself.
is Roll? But I guess she's not relevant.
I mean,
But
eh, probably didn't want to have too many characters for this one, right?
I guess again, this is just me nitpicking. It doesn't really matter. And so then
Fair,
this
fair.
thing that comes in and takes over Bombman. So also Bombman's team, they actually managed to make Bombsman's team threatening. That's
Mm,
really impressive. And I will call again. I'm gonna call a little bullshit here, but that Bombman's weakness in the original game is Fireman, not Iceman. But they worked with it well. There's a story reason to why Iceman's weapon works in this. So again, this is just me nitpicking on I play the game.
they also
So
gave you the nice little fake out of like, oh man, they killed Dr. Light, but no.
And that's actually something that I really like, that the thing that took over Bomberman, after that's destroyed, it goes into Rock. And I like that Rock actually has the willpower to fight it, because
Mm,
that's what shows Dr. Light that Rock is ready, isn't that he took down Bomberman, but that he had the willpower to resist a programming, essentially.
mm.
That he had that, and he even tells them that I thought this was really good. Again, this was a moment where I'm like, fuck yeah, that's Mega Man, baby. I
Yeah,
love
like
this
it
guy.
goes along with that theme, right? Because he's supposed to be more than just a robot and everything, right? Like that's kind of one of the
Yep.
big things of Mega Man. So
Hmm.
it was so
And
good,
then
but like, man,
and
I hate that it ended
like,
off with him putting the helmet on top of the city and it's on fire. It's like, man, I wanted to see him do a little bit more.
again, they hype it, and also that, like, when I heard the Wily Stage 1 for Mega Man 2, or Okusa Man, whatever you want to call it, it's the same song. When they started playing that epic version of that, and then when he goes into the city, it's like, yeah, that's, like, again, I'm telling you, every Mega Man fan worth their soul probably stood up and started cheering when they saw that. I am putting money on that.
It was
And it's
really
like,
good.
this is where it ends. It's like, I guess,
It's
if
so frustrating.
I get that I don't have a lot of time, but it's like, god damn it. It's like, it was so good. Why cut it so short? But what can you, and again, Netflix, balls on your court. If your movie isn't even half as good as this little bit, you failed.
Yeah, Netflix definitely has a lot to live up to because they did exceptionally well at this. So if they're still working on a thing and they do plan on releasing something,
You know what?
they
You
should
know what?
definitely be looking at
I'm
this and
looking it
going
up.
like, "Ooh, take notes, take notes, take notes, take notes."
I hope they are. And again, I'm not sure what kind of rights this is gonna have, but it's like, hello, maybe get Tim Miller on it or something.
I would definitely be down for seeing potentially even more of Mega Man if they wanted to. Give me a little bit
But
more. I'd be
like,
happy with that. Like I'm not opposed to
let's
that.
see. Let's see. The latest thing I see on the Mega Man movie in August 2022 confirmed that he and Just were writing a Mega Man film adaptation for Netflix, and said it would explore the future of Shortly after, Just said that Josh would co-write, was writing a new draft of the screenplay, completed a draft and then said that he had replayed past Mega Man games for research properly. So, in short, we didn't really hear anything in the last 2.5 years. So, Netflix, take notes. That's all I'm gonna say. Hire the studio, hire whoever did this if you're capable, and Capcom, for the love of God, give us a new Mega Man game.
Mm.
Mega Man 11 did you good. But okay, moving on. I'm not gonna. Episode 11, Exodus Odyssey, another one by Blow Studios, and written by Tim Miller himself. So I was disappointed with this one. It's not
Really?
about the story. It's not a bit. It's a joke. I was leading into this. Is not about the story. It's not about the story of Moses. Disappointed, but what can you do?
Uh-huh.
I like how you took me seriously there for a second.
I did. I was like, "Really? You didn't like this one?" I was gonna be a little bit upset with you. I liked this one. This one was actually really good. Another really good one.
And again, it was a good one. I liked it. I really liked the idea. It had a good pacing, really interesting dynamic, and like the ending was also, I really enjoyed the ending for this one. So
Mm.
this is a really good one. I don't have much to say, but I like this one.
No, I love like the idea of time dilation, and you see how he's following his daughter, trying to get her back, but he's always so far behind. And when they finally meet, she's
Hmm.
as old as he is, right? And he barely looks like he's
Yeah,
aged at all. Like he doesn't look like he's aged all that much because of the time dilation and everything, but she's aged so much because
and
he's had to
and also
travel
just
behind her and everything.
every time you see like how much time has passed for him and how
Mm.
much time has passed for her, every time you see that, it's really like, it's like, holy shit.
it's also like a little heartbreaking, right? Because like so much of her life has passed by and her dad's just not been there for it, right? Because he's just trying
Mhm.
to get back up to her and trying to like
Yeah.
bring his girl home and everything. But like she's by the time he finally gets to her, she's an old woman, she's an adult, she's lived an entire life now that he
Hmm.
wasn't there for. And unfortunately, right,
Yeah.
like she dies at the end of it, unfortunately. But, he still comes back at the very end and like, hey, here's the payment that I owe for leaving like years and years ago, the woman who I worked for, and this is her daughter now. And it's like, man, I love the time
Yeah.
dilation stuff that they're doing here.
Yeah, again, really interesting concept, really, and good execution. Great, again, animation. Wow, beautiful. I really like this one.
Great
This
writing, like
was really good.
like it very much. This is very much focused on essentially one or two characters, but these two characters these two characters very
And the other
well.
thing that,
Ugh.
like you said, the time dilation. This is a concept that could have so easily be mishandled.
Mm.
You know.
But it keeps it very simple, right? Like they just show you, like,
Hmm.
hey, time moves as you travel through, light speed through space and everything. So,
Yeah.
this is how much time has passed for him, and we're just going to simply show you this how much time has passed for her, and this is what she's looks like now, right? Like seeing that, like, hey, it's been 1 year for, I think the character's name is Nick, but it's been 8 years for Mari, right? It's like,
Yeah.
and then you go further and further, and it's like, oh, it's been like 5 or 10 years for Nick, but it's been 20 to 40 years for Mari. And you're like, holy shit, she is so old now. But he's still chasing after her. It's like so good. So, so good.
Mhm.
Very well
Again,
done
really,
episode.
really like this one. This one was great. Um,
I will say,
so,
the game for this one is not out yet. It's being made by former Mass Effect devs, if you're familiar with Mass Effect.
oh, yeah, of course. Who
Uh,
doesn't know
they've announced
Effect?
this game. They're still working on it. I don't. They've shown
What's the
some
name of
trailers
it?
for it. Exodus Odyssey, I believe, or no, it's just Exodus.
Just Exodus. Well,
Yeah, it's
definitely.
Exodus: The Traveler's Creed is what the game is called, I believe.
What's the genre, if I may ask?
Something similar to Mass Effect, right? If you've played that,
Okay, I kind of know
but
what
like
it's
a
like.
little bit. So like I would say like more action RPG, right? Like not turn-based RPG, just more action
Okay.
RPG.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know what? Whenever it's out, I'll keep an eye out for it. If do we know platforms that it's gonna be on, or
I
is it?
assume like PC, Xbox, PlayStation, all your usuals. I assume, but I don't think it's coming out for another couple years? Question mark.
Uh, we shall see then. It will definitely be interesting.
But yeah,
So.
this was definitely a good showing, right?
Yeah, like at the very least, however the game is gonna turn out, at the very least, the plot in this show was excellent.
Mm. Agreed.
Now moving on to episode 12, Spelunky Tally, another one by say the name. I can't say it. I'm sorry.
Illusorium.
Yes.
I will say,
Um.
didn't mention it. Mega Man again continued a little bit of that second chance kind of idea when he got a second chance to help people in a different way.
Yeah.
Odyssey also Exodus Odyssey also continuing on with that second chance kind of theme.
Hmm.
Spelunky, this one definitely continues on with that second chance sort of
Well,
theme.
so this is the point where I ask you, what do you know about Spelunky?
I've played a bit of it. My little brother loves this game. He plays it a ton, still does. I've played it with him here and there. I've definitely played it a bit as well. Very fun. It's very kind of like like it's probably one of the more famous at this point, I would say, roguelites. A lot of people love it and enjoy it. Very
Um,
popular.
If so, one of my friends, she's been on the podcast before. Her name is Jaya. She played it. Everything I know about the game is through her, and she has a massive love-hate relationship with that game.
I'm not surprised.
She played it a lot, and she did beat it eventually. She did beat it,
Hmm.
and even twice. I think she beat it more than once. But let's say the road to that victory was filled with Fox, Args, and a lot of other rage words that I don't remember at the moment. So everything I know about Spelunky is through her. But to be honest, from what I know, from I think heard from her that this is more following the sequel to Spelunky rather than the original. But
Probably. I don't know
but
enough to
this
say.
does feel like, when you see this character die so many times and then they come back, and but I also enjoyed the idea that, this is a roguelike game essentially. And again, we have this
Hmm.
theme of die and trying again. So you have like Liz, the older adventurer, who
Hmm.
did carve on the wall each time she died, and Anna is kind of like, whatever. I'm just going along with it. But then you find out that, the reason that Liz keeps count of it is that, because that way, each of her lives means something at the end of the day, and
Hmm.
she gets stronger because of it. And when you keep count and you remember what caused each one, it helps you build upon the past stuff and move on. And who knows, maybe next time is gonna be the run. And I kind of like that really inspiration, motivation, that, even if a game is frustrating to you, keep trying. You might end up getting it eventually.
Also, too, right? Like that, Anna does start to get depressed and, kind of like, oh, I've died so many times. I'm kind of tired of dying. Like you can see, like it is getting to her. At first, she was very
Yeah.
nonchalant about it. She didn't care, but you can see, no, it starts getting to her too. I'm sure dying that many times does suck. And then,
Hmm.
again, you have Liz continuing to tell her there, like, and try to continue to uplift her. And then you also see that Anna gets kind of upset, like, oh, you only died this many times, right? I've died way more and I've still not gotten anywhere near as far as you have. And then you get to that ending scene and Anna walks in and you see, oh no, wait, she's actually died way, way more, right? You
Yeah.
just don't see that bit, right?
Hmm.
And it's like, yes, this is good. This is fun. This is enjoyable. Like this is engaging.
Yeah. This was again, really liked it, and
Very
not too much
simple,
to say, but
but very good.
simple. Keep with the theme. I really liked it. Anything else to add, or are we moving on?
No, this again. You've had a string of good episodes in a row here.
Mhm. Which leads us to episode 13, Concord, Tale of the Implacable. This is done by Axis Studios, and this is definitely a game which was a massive success and didn't fail beyond any expectation. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Oof.
Okay, here's the thing. I love Sony. I'm a PlayStation kid. I haven't played this. I wasn't interested in it. I didn't even have the slightest idea that it was coming out until people started talking about how much it failed. So if someone actually enjoys Concord, by all means enjoy it. The reason I make a joke about it is because I'm an asshole on the internet who thinks it's funny. Don't don't take it as an attack, though. To be
I
honest, I don't think I've seen anyone defend Concord like ever.
listen.
But but playing it safe.
It sucks, but I will say the episode was fun. Probably
I
more fun than the game ever was.
well, again, I honestly, only one thing was going through. I tried to come into this one with as open of a mind as I could. I really did. But all I could think of is discount Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, fair. It definitely gives that kind of vibe. But you know what? I'm okay with that. I enjoyed
Not
my discount
bad.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Like, again, when I'm saying discount Guardians of the Galaxy, it doesn't mean that it's necessarily a bad idea to have it.
Insert that meme here of we want Guardians of the Galaxy. No, we have Guardians of the Galaxy at home. It's
You know
this.
what? That sadly, and considering Guardians of the Galaxy actually have a game that's really good. If you haven't played it, play it for God's sakes. That's really kind of sad.
Listen,
Uh,
again, like yeah, it definitely I get when you say Guardians of the Galaxy discount, yeah, I fully get that. It definitely gives that vibe and that feeling. I said though, I had fun with it. It's still enjoyable.
it was all
It's
right.
definitely not the weakest one here. I still feel the weakest one to me was definitely Crossfire. This one I
Yeah.
could at least like, hey, there's a story here and
At
I'm
least
following it.
this one I could at least follow. I can tell you what was happening to some degree. It's just that what was it was just like, yeah, it's fine. It happened. It exists.
Also, we get Laura Bailey, always a wonderful, addition.
Yeah,
She's great.
yeah, that I was actually really happy to see it because I from the names I recognized a lot of the voice cast here seems to be celebrities to some degree. So it's nice to see a voice actress getting like a role in here because
Mm,
because to be honest, how there are probably so many games that Laura Bailey was in at this point. It's like it would kind of feel negative if she wasn't here, right? Something
mm.
would be missing, but
Fair.
yeah. So it happened. This is an episode that exists. It's all right, I
Yeah.
suppose, but it's not amazing. There are better episodes in this show.
Yeah. That's fair. I would agree. Fun enough, but
So
yeah, there's definitely a lot more from Secret Level that you can enjoy and have fun with. To end off, Access Studios also did work on Love, Death, and Robots with Blur Studios before, so they've worked before. Have done some work on Gears of War 5, Outriders, Destiny, the Witch Queen, Halo. So a few things they've been around a bit, and also on the Chernobyl show. I do not
okay,
know which one exactly, but I assume the HBO one. I could be wrong. So they've done some work here or there. They've been around for a bit.
yeah. Well, moving on to episode 40. And by the way, the last two episodes are done by Digix Pictures, which we already talked about. So might as well mention that. So
Unfortunately, I
episode
will say,
14,
from what I'm reading real quick, Access Studios may be gone. It looks like this might have been one of the last things they worked on because they are
that's
currently in administration and lost
that's
most of their jobs last year,
so
unfortunately.
all the best prayers for the animators who
Yeah.
worked hard to give it that. And also, I will say, I forgot to mention this, so might as well talk about it now. That one of the reasons that they said that the episode was still aired despite Sony pulling, basically delisting Concord is because they didn't want to they didn't want the animator's job to be for nothing, and I
Yeah.
can respect that.
Yeah.
We might joke about what the game turned out being, but again, this is not meant in malice for the animators who worked hard on this episode, and whatever Access Studios has up next, I hope that everyone who worked on this would find good jobs afterwards because you deserve it.
Agreed.
Everyone who worked on it deserves it.
Agreed.
Now, again, if I will say that another reason that they aired this is because they said, well, some shows are about games that didn't even come out. Like the Pac-Man one. This game is not out yet, and the other Walls is apparently not out yet, from what you told me. So, I'm willing to buy
Oh,
it.
The
Just
Outer Worlds is out.
I got confused.
Yeah,
Right, it was the other
Exodus
one.
is the one that's not out.
Exodus is the one that's not out, right? Point is,
And
I'm
technically the
sorry.
Pac-Man game
I'm
is
kind
out.
as much as I joke about it, I do kind of feel sorry for the people behind this one because it's
Mm.
like, damn, they were sure they were probably sure that this was gonna be a big thing. So that does suck.
Mm.
But for all it's worth, I hope that this animation studio manages to push through and that they'll get some amazing jobs afterwards.
Again, I'll always remember, right? Like, yeah, the game may have came out, it may have done poorly and wasn't great, but no, I'm sure it goes without saying, no dev wants their game to come out and be bad.
There you go.
That is never the idea, I'm sure.
Mhm. Yeah, so moving on to episode 14, Honor of Kings, the way of all things. Kind of like Unreal Tournament, I was bored throughout most of it, and then the ending happened, and I'm like, okay, here we go. Something's happening. Episode ends.
Yeah, I was definitely like, huh, I'm interested. This is interesting. This is unique. This is I like this. Where is this going? The ending? All right, yeah, I'm really interested in this, but that's the end of it. It was kind of. Would you believe me though? This is not a game you're going to want to play. It's not a game I'm going to want to play either. Apparently, this is a MOBA, like League of Legends and stuff. So
Okay.
not a game I'm gonna play. I
Yeah.
don't know how the fuck you got this from a MOBA.
Um, to be honest, a lot of the games here are kind of a MOBA, so to some degree, at least. So, mm,
I mean, technically, if you massively online multiplayer stuff, I suppose, but yeah, or all being multiplayer anyways in some way, shape, or form. Technically, I suppose, but
yeah.
yeah, definitely not a
Well,
game I'm gonna play. But I, I'm eh, like I definitely think there's weaker episodes. I'm definitely interested in this one. I liked the back and forth between the young man who sought to challenge this like supercomputer AI thing controlling the city. I love the idea of like this computer or this magic quote unquote magic thing controlling an entire city and keeping it safe and choosing how everything works, but it's going in decline now, so someone has to go in and like challenge it to take over and take its place and everything. I also
yeah.
like the idea of like, oh, there's a bigger city inside of the bigger city, apparently, a city inside of a city or something, or he's just doing this over and over again to multiple different people, this supercomputer, right?
Yeah. hmm So there was some things here, but I don't know. This one didn't grab me as much. Again, like when it came to the end, I'm like, okay, let's see how well this goes, and then it ended.
I like the
So
idea. I liked what it's doing, but yeah, it's definitely on the weaker side. And I think there were more interesting things that, like you said, it showed at the end that may have been more interesting and more enjoyable to watch and do a short story on potentially. But
yeah. Uh, it's it's there. It's all right.
that's fair enough.
N- Now, for the final episode, playtime, fulfillment.
I didn't like this one as much personally.
I tell you what, again, as I mentioned this earlier, I was a PlayStation kid. I am still a
Fair.
fan of PlayStation. I am aware that the PlayStation 5 isn't the best console in Sony's library so far, despite Astrobot aside and some other games aside. I know Sony hasn't been all that good throughout this generation, and this one baffled me because on the one hand, this should kind of be my alley because okay, I should mention the it's called playtime, but this is essentially the PlayStation episode.
Yeah,
Okay,
it definitely gives this feeling of like, oh, PlayStation kind of like, we'll give you these characters, but we don't want to give you a franchise or anything because this may not be
but that's
good,
the
so we're not
thing.
going to chance it. We're going to play it safe, do this, but it just kind of comes off as, eh,
Because okay, so for the record, this is not based on any kind of game, but the plot is that there's this, delivery girl named O, which I guess is supposed to be apparently she's supposed to be like a reference to the circle on the PlayStation controllers.
yeah,
So
which is dumb, but
sure,
I guess
it's
it
dumb.
works.
Again, it's like how recently it's supposed to be cross. It's not cross. It's X. What the fuck are you talking about?
Agreed.
So. Anyway, where was I with this? So always like a delivery girl, and she's delivering stuff, and then you can also see her like kind of getting points when she's making the delivery on time, and when she can get an upgrade for her bike. It's just changing the color to orange, and she's pissed. And then someone shows up and tells her, "Hey, you need to deliver this blue thing somewhere." And suddenly like the robot guide she has with her, and everyone is trying to stop her. And when I say everyone, it's like the what's it called, the
The
hell divers.
Helldivers from Helldivers is trying to stop her. You get a
You get a
Colossus from Shadow of the
you get a
Colossus.
colossus from Shadow of the Colossus, which honestly when I said it, I'm like, okay, this is cool. I saw Kratos and I said, holy hell, this is cool. I saw Sackboy and I'm going, the fuck is he doing here? And these characters don't contribute to anything. These characters could have been a complete random enemy that she had to maneuver through, and nothing would have been different. There is no
Mm-hmm.
reason for it to be the Colossus or Kratos or Sackboy or any other PlayStation franchise.
Or the
Which is the other
Helldivers.
thing. If you needed to do this PlayStation thing, really, this is all we're doing? Helldiver, Shadow of the Colossus, God of War, and Little Big Planet? There's so much more. Where's
Sly
Ratchet and
Cooper,
Clank?
Ratchet and Clank, Jack and
Yeah, where's
Daxter.
Ratchet? Where's the platforming trio? Where's Astrobot? Where's Nathan Drake? Where are some of the biggies?
Like I said, it
Hello?
definitely feels like PlayStation's like, here's a few characters. We're not going to commit anything because we don't think this will be good. So we don't want to actually waste our time or put anything behind it. It's like, it kind of makes me feel a little bit like, fuck you, PlayStation. You could have given us something and we could have had something big here, but you chose not to. You just wanted this and that was it, you know,
And the other thing, honestly, I saw someone on YouTube say it that this episode basically exists so that they could put Kratos in the trailer.
pretty much. It feels like this was kind of like
And
a trailer bait kind of
and
episode.
to be honest, considering the Amazon God of War show is kind of in development hell or it's canceled, I'm not sure anymore. You could have totally given us a God of War episode if that was the case, but again, if it's supposed to be a celebration of PlayStation, I just don't get it because it's not, it doesn't feel like a celebration. It feels like some characters were just not busy, so they decided to show up.
Again,
That's
it
what it
feels like
was.
PlayStation just didn't care for this and didn't want to get involved with it, but they wanted to like seem like they were, a part of it. So they just gave a few characters, said, figure this out, work with these characters, do something.
Yeah,
And like we
because
got this bare bones thing that's just meh.
again, you had we had Astrobot a few months before this, and it's like you want to talk about celebration of PlayStation, that right? So, and again, like as an episode, as a thing on its own, it was fun enough. It's just that the PlayStation element actually more distracted from it rather than contributed to
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I would agree. I do wonder, I've been told from what I understand that PlayStation, like Sony in general, can be hard to work with at times for some of their own personal IP. I do wonder
Yeah,
how
because
finicky and how much like interference they decided to have with this, like, oh, you can't do this or that or this or that, and et cetera, on and
because
on.
also, as far as I'm aware now, and this is something I was gonna bring up when we're going to talk about the future of Secret Level. Now, when you have PlayStation Studios, from the Uncharted movie and the Last of Us show and all of that stuff, do you think do you think maybe there was a rights issue, or because now they actually have a studio, so they are thinking why outsource it?
Could be, it could be that, but it's like I'm of the opinion that, or I would be of the opinion that outsourcing it doesn't hurt your own stuff. If you don't want it, like, I would argue that like it could potentially. I mean, the Uncharted movie was already out, and well, we know how that one went. It was meh at best.
And then you have The Last of Us, which is really good, and there are some Sony movies in the works. Like I heard that apparently the Shadow of the Colossus movie is actually in progress now, supposedly.
I will be honest, I don't have high hopes for that one, but we'll see.
To
Maybe
be,
it can blow me away.
it's a hard one to do to do a movie, but
But
it's a
like,
hard
it could have been
one.
interesting for them to just do a Shadow of the
Honestly,
Colossus thing, right,
yeah,
for an
I
episode,
was
and
about to
like get
say
us hyped
Shadow of
for
the
that movie.
Colossus. Like, forget Hyper for the movie. Shadow of the Colossus would actually work better as an episode of this than a
Yeah.
full feature, if you
Or,
ask me.
if the Kratos thing isn't working out, maybe, hey, just you like, hey, let's gauge some. Do people still want a Kratos show? Let's do an episode or a movie. Let's do an episode of, God of War with
And if
this.
anything, I think an episode of this could really because I'm not sure what they were planning with the Amazon one. I assume, right? I assume they would follow
The
the
new stuff.
Nordic God of War,
Yeah.
the newer games.
Yeah.
But in an episode of Secret Level, you could totally maybe do something artistic and respect both both of them, both the Greek era and the Nordic era. You could
Or
totally do that
or
because
like
in
secret level, do an entirely different thing. Do like a different set of gods, right? Like Egyptian gods or something else, right?
well, apparently this is something that they are considering doing for the future of the games.
Yeah,
So they
that's what
probably
I've heard
won't let
too.
them. So maybe they won't let them do something that's a concept at this point, but we
But they
don't know yet. We
could
just
though, as like a, hey, as like a, this is what to expect from the future of God of War sort of idea, right? But like
Mhm.
this was kind of, it's
This
fine, but
was
it's meh. It's
it's
definitely not a
like
strong episode
as
to
the
end on.
I tell you what, if this was just its own thing, then you know what? Why not? I could dig it. But if it's supposed to be like a tribute to PlayStation, then it misses the mark.
Yeah.
It was great seeing Kratos though. Like I love
Woo.
God of War,
And
so maybe
Sackboy, woo.
yeah, yeah, I guess. Well, anyway, so now that we talked about all of this, and we know there's a season two coming out, so what I have to ask you is, are there any games that you think would make good episodes of this?
Ooh. You know what? Um, I would. Hmm. Hmm. I think there's a lot of different games, but like
Hmm.
stuff that feels very, video gamey, right? I would love, right, to see, uh, like if we're going back, right, do, Sony give us like Spyro, give us, or it's not Sony, that's Activision Blizzard, but
That's Activision now,
yeah,
sadly. I
like,
will.
Microsoft throw in Fable or a Halo thing, or again, Spyro, or
That's
Sony,
actually
give
something.
us Jack and Daxter. We've not had Jack and Daxter
Oh
for
man.
years.
Well,
Give us a
you
Jack and
know that
Daxter thing.
supposedly there's a film in production.
I'm
Supposedly.
but, that's dead. As far as I'm concerned, it's dead.
Though, to be honest, dude, I am on the same boat. I miss Jack and Dexter so much.
I
Please
would
give
love
them
to have
some.
Jack and Daxter back. So yeah, give us like a thing for that. I would love to see them do like some weird shit, because again, like there's a few in here that I did not think I would enjoy, but I actually walked away like, you know what, that was fun. Like Armored Core
Yeah,
or the Pac-Man one. That was weird, but give us more like
yeah.
that.
But, to be honest, though, because you said Halo, I'm wondering because Mega Man had other shows and adaptations before, right?
Yeah,
So I wonder though, because you said Halo, there was a Halo show.
which
Do
I've
you
heard
think
is eh.
regardless of the quality, again, I never played Halo, so I
Sure.
can't really. But despite us, do you think it's actually? Do you mind it that there was a Halo show, but it would still get an episode here again?
No,
Like,
I think that's fine.
because yeah, again, I think if it's different enough, then why not? Because again, Pac-Man had other shows, got an episode here. Spyro did, got an episode
Mega
here.
Man's
So
other stuff got an episode here.
I said,
You
I
said
said.
Spyro.
Oh, I got confused because it's yeah, I'm dumb. No, but Mega
No
Man had
worries.
other shows, and yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, so I think, to be honest, I know this might be weird to probably hear me say, but I actually don't really want to see a Sonic episode for this because we have so many. Because I think there are more Sonic TV shows than any other video game franchise. So let Sonic do his thing. I am perfectly okay with there not being a Sonic thing,
Yeah. I mean, if
but
they did it though, that's fine too.
But Ubisoft, give them Rayman. Please. Please, Rayman needs
Rayman would be
this.
fun.
Rayman needs something. I know that we
He
got him
got
in
the
Captain Laser.
yeah, he
I
got the
know.
Captain Laser option. That was
uh,
wild.
Yeah, and again, I wouldn't say, if you want, go back to the podcast we did about it. I liked him in that, but you know what? Give me a Rayman episode in this. That would be amazing. That could be done so well under the right under with the right people. That could be so good.
Picking some weird ones, right? Some really out there ones that I would love to
Yeah.
see them do. I don't know how
Let's
familiar you
see.
are with it, but give me a Stardew Valley episode. That would be
I know that that's good. That could be
weird.
fun.
It'd
That
be
could be
it
that
could
could be
be it
interesting.
may end up being bad, but I would love to see you give me some weird ones out there, some like really out there
Yeah.
ones, right?
But that's also a thing that I do want to add because let's say there was the PlayStation 1 and Concord, that's obviously Sony, but then it's also like, how big do you think this needs to go? Like in terms of
I would love to
brand,
see.
because I don't necessarily, let's say it like this, I don't see Nintendo rolling with the
I
idea.
would love to see Nintendo get involved, though. I think it'd be fun. Throw Mario or
Definitely.
Pokemon in here, right? I don't think they'll. I don't
Like,
think they'll give Mario, but maybe
I
Pokemon. Throw
like
Pokemon
Mario, I really doubt
or
because
Legend
Universal
of
has that
Zelda would go
now.
so hard, man.
Zelda could go hard, but again, there's a movie plan, so I'm not sure how much this is
I
gonna affect things.
seen the Mario movie. My hopes are a
But
little
it, it's
diminished for a Zelda movie.
it's live action and done by Sony, so
Sony's doing the Zelda movie?
oh yeah,
Really?
that's a thing.
That
Yeah,
feels weird.
it feels weird, from the people who brought you Spider-Man one, two and a half times.
I
So
mean, like Nintendo's Legend of Zelda is being done by Sony. It feels a little
yeah.
weird, right?
Oh, trust me, a lot of people pointed it out. I myself thought it was weird, but it's been worked on. We shall see.
But like maybe it's good. Seeing the Mario movie, my hopes are a little bit. Maybe it'd be
You
good,
know
but
something? Nintendo, if you're into this, fucking Metroid. Metroid would work
Metroid
so
would go
fucking
so
well.
well.
It would
And
work
like
so
Metroid
freaking well.
already feels like one of Nintendo's more adult franchises, so it would fit
It's
into like an
close to
adult
a
animated
horror
show.
that they have, so yeah.
Hmm. So like, yeah, give us Metroid. If you don't want to do Legend of Zelda or Mario or anything, give us Metroid, or hell, give us let's go Bayonetta,
I was just about to say Bayonetta. Bayonetta could
or
do very well.
let's go a little bit in there.
Uh,
Fire Emblem,
yeah,
uh,
Fire Emblem could be cool.
F Zero would be a lot of fun. I
No,
think.
Nintendo hates F-Zero, so that's not
True.
happening. Sad. I'm
You were
sad to
so
say that.
quick on that one.
I'm so, I'm sorry, but it also seems like most F-Zero fans
I
gonna
was
agree with
giving the
me
F
on that.
Zero
I
fans
think.
like a small bit of hope, and you immediately came in and said, "Nah,
Yeah,
nah, let's dash that."
but I will say, something. But if I'm going to dash my own hopes, Sony seems game with the idea. Gravity Rush.
Oh,
I know they're apparently making a movie and there's a test footage for it, but like Gravity Rush could be cool.
yeah, Gravity Rush would be a fun one, and it gives you a chance to like, hey, let's test the waters a little bit. Let's do a Gravity Rush thing. See if are
Hmm.
people really interested in a movie.
Yeah.
Have some
And
fun with
again,
this. Use it to test the waters. Throw some shit in here, like we may never do anything with this, but hey, here's something we want to try.
and
See how
also
people interested people are.
Ubisoft, he wasn't in Captain Laserhawk, Prince of Persia.
Ooh, another really good one. That would also work really well.
Usually, and I think that's part of the charm of this show that like we just saw what they could do, and we are like, think of the possibilities of all the games that they could do with this.
Yeah, there's
And
so much.
like we could sit there for another hour and just think of all the possible games that we could do that could get an adaptation like this, and it works. Like notice how many we just said, "Ooh, that's a good one. Oh, that's great." And, like
Something came,
it's
came to mind. Ubisoft, you could do a Beyond Good and Evil thing that actually gets released.
oh my god, don't do this to me, man. I mean, they did put them in Captain Laserhawk, but that was one of the worst parts about that show. So,
Yeah.
and also, yeah, Beyond Good and Evil 2. You know that it's
It's
actually
coming, guys.
officially,
It's coming. Just hope that
you know,
copium, man.
dude, you know that officially this game has been in development for a longer time than Duke Nukem Forever.
Yeah.
Which,
That
by the way,
game's gonna
Duke
come out.
Nukem,
It's gonna be terrible.
fucking
Oh yeah, Duke
fucking Duke
Nukem.
Nukem, that could totally work for a secret level.
Yeah, I mean, kind of like rectify the one bad thing, that he's remembered for at the moment, since that was the last
Yeah,
Duke Nukem thing we got.
I mean, I think he was in Bulletstorm or something, but yeah,
Don't remember.
he was DLC in something. I'm not sure though, but yeah, yeah, Duke. God damn it, get Duke in there. He needs that poor guy.
I'll give a shout out. Take Two. I'm looking at you over there. I don't think Grand Theft Auto would fit for this, but throw in some XCOM or maybe a weird. Let's going weird with it again. A civilization thing. Do something weird with that. I
Oh,
want to see what you can do.
that could be
Like
interesting.
throw
Hold on.
in throw in an RTS in here or a strategy game.
You
Let's see what
know,
you can do with
you know
that.
what? You know what I would want?
Are you gonna say?
Let's do red alert
I knew it
and
immediately.
get all of them. Get George Takei, Tim Carey, sadly
Oh
no longer able to work, but like get
man,
George Takei in there. Get all the people that make it live action. Like that would be fucking cool.
if you could get Tim Curry though, oh man, I know
I
it'd be
like.
alas, but man, that'd be so
No,
great if you could get him
so
in.
you know what? So you know what? Red alert. Put that in there.
Yeah, he's a little bit too old, but if he would be willing to do it, get him back
And
for it, that'd be
you,
so
you know,
great.
you know something? Another one, another Sony one, which could totally work with the whole die and return thing. Returnal.
Mm.
That
I
that
heard
can
that one
totally
was
work
kind
too.
of went under the radar, but was actually quite good.
And I played it. It's really good. And speaking, another one that I'm kind of looking at my game shelves there. You know, Final Fantasy could do something with this. That could be cool. And another one. Have you heard of A Plague's Tale?
Yeah, I have actually. Plague Tale would be really good for this too.
Yeah, that can also be really cool.
I
And
I kind of
again,
I
so
kind
many
of
options.
mm, I kind of want to suggest it, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't know if I want to because motherfucking. Oh, let me look up his name real quick.
FNAF.
No, 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 not FNAF. FNAF would probably work for it though, but no, that's not
I
what I'm
mean,
thinking of.
but again, they have the movies, so yeah.
Let me look this up real quick. Yeah,
I
I'm gonna mention the name and you're gonna immediately know what I'm talking about. So yeah, I kind of would want to, but at the same time I don't because fucking Nomura is gonna do a weird thing of you have to watch this in order to get something about the next game.
Kingdom Hearts.
Kingdom
Yeah.
Hearts.
No, here's the thing. I totally get you. I was thinking about suggesting that because it would work well. Problem is, how much do you need to work with Disney on that? That's
That
the big
yeah,
issue.
that and also again, I feel like Nomura's gonna be weird about it. It's like, oh, if you didn't watch this episode of Secret Level, you're not gonna get this thing from Kingdom Hearts 4.
Oh my
It's like
God,
fucking
no.
Nomura. This is
Well,
why I hate you.
you you
I
know, to
love
be
you, but I
honest, though,
hate you.
eh, to be honest, I'm not sure if you've heard, but he did say something about that he realizes that Kingdom Hearts 4 might need to be the last one because he realized that he's close to the age of retirement.
And
So
I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with that, but it's also like you may never know.
He may end up
So
doing like Sakurai from Smash Brothers and be like, "I came back for another one," and then saying, "All
actually,
right, I'm
this
done
is
after
the
this
other
one, guys,
thing.
and I came back for another one."
Yeah, so I guess because we can keep the discussion of all the games that could get adaptations
I
here
will say,
until tomorrow.
yeah,
I
there's
will say
so
though,
much you can suggest, so
I
much you can
will
talk
say
to.
though, this is gonna. My question is, do you think at some point, and like if there is going to be a second season, I want there to be new games, but would you be interested to see any of the episodes that we did get a sequel?
Like I said, yeah, not Pac-Man, Mega Man, maybe Pac-Man, but definitely the Mega Man one. I would love to see more Mega Man.
Yeah,
That one was
I
so good.
Yep, agreed.
The
And
D&D one, I would like to see more
the
of.
D&D one could be, yeah, there are definitely a lot of ones that I would love to see
I
more.
think Warhammer. Eh, I think you need a bit more for the Warhammer one, right? Because that one's like this is good, but I definitely feel like I need to understand more of that. So I could definitely see Warhammer getting more, and I wouldn't mind it. I would enjoy it. But one, I would love, 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 love to see Mega Man get another episode because I need more of that Mega Man, and it was so good.
Yeah, yeah, agreed. So, and my final question: do you think any of those would eventually have to come together for a crossover of some kind? I
Ooh,
think, I think personally, it would take away from the appeal of the show. But I'm also saying, if done right, it could be interesting.
it would be funny to have like the D&D one, and then get and yet Aelstrom lives in the D in a D&D episode.
That would be cool. That would definitely
That
be
would
interesting.
be. You don't even need to do a full crossover for that. Just do like a reference of like of like Arnold coming back playing a character in there, and just does. And yet, insert name here lives in the D&D one. That would be a funny little reference.
That would be cool. So I guess anything else to say about
Yeah,
secret
I'll definitely
level?
say like while I would love to see Nintendo and Sony get more involved and see Microsoft throw their hat in the ring, like the big names, right? I definitely want to see the big names get involved. I don't want it to be just big names.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
like the fact that
Uh,
Spelunky was in here or The Outer Worlds was in here, even though
Honestly, here's a one Undertale. Can you imagine?
ooh, I don't know if Undertale would work, but I'm here to try it. Let's go. Again, I want them to be a little bit weird with it and take on like these like, weird things, right? And these ones that like this isn't going to make a good show and then see if it works or not. I think
Yeah.
this is your test bed, right? Like this is the
Yeah.
place where you just,
Again, this is
get to
this is
have
a this is a good
excuse me, get to have
chance. This is
fun
a
with it.
really good chance. Yeah. Get if you have an idea, get it on secret level if you have the chance. I think that again, I'm not sure if how many of those are backdoor pilots, but
Because
let's see how
I
this
think
goes.
right, I definitely would tell you. I don't know if Spelunky would have made a good episode, but it worked here. It was fun. It definitely wouldn't make a
And
show out of it, but an episode for
and
here,
again,
absolutely.
if you told me that Mega Man was gonna be in like and I think like, oh god damn it, and now that and I think it's like this is like it's like the Mega Man adaptation at this point. It's like
I will
holy
say, I think you can make good stuff with Mega Man. It's just people
oh
haven't made
definitely.
good stuff with Mega Man.
Mega Man 11 was so good, Capcom. Why didn't you capitalize on that? Okay,
But I will also say, I came into this expecting the New World one. I figured that one would be very bad. That one was probably one of the more fun ones and more enjoyable ones. It was very good. So I think, again, it takes you to kind of look at the idea and say, okay, how can we play with this and turn this into an episode that's enjoyable and fun? It doesn't have to be a whole show, just an episode. So I
agreed.
want to see them experiment with it. I want to see them involve smaller stuff and smaller studios. Like I mentioned, again, Stardew Valley's quite big, but it's still not. It's a big name, but it's not like your Sony, Microsoft, or Nintendo big, right?
Hmm.
So go for those big ones, get them in. I want to see them involved. I want to see this show continue to do, at least another season or two, maybe more, hopefully. But I'd love to see a ton of different stuff because this could technically keep you in business for a long time if you wanted it to. But
Yeah,
I hope those other studios are willing to get involved and lend their IP for an episode or two. Right? It'd be a lot of fun. You know, do that.
agreed.
Throw your hat in the ring
So,
and get some
mhm.
smaller and continue to get smaller stuff in here.
Whatever next for this show, we'll probably be here to cover it whenever
Yeah.
season 2 is out. All we know right now is that it's happening when we need to wait.
Mm-hmm.
So this is it for this episode of the Outcast. We hope you enjoyed it. What did you think about Secret Level, and what was your favorite part of it? What games do you want to see adapted? You can tell us all about it in the comment section below, on our Twitter, which is Berkcast with a capital B, capital C, and on our Tumblr, which is Berkcast Team. Until the next episode, I was HC,
I was Wolf.
and we will see you all next time. Take care and game on.
Bye bye.